If you're a business owner and would like more information on sponsoring Geek Therapy Radio, just email geektherapy@iheartmedia.com or call 713-212-8422. And with that, meeting adjourned. Let's get our geek on.
High tech, low tech, or no tech. Through our hobbies and our passions, the geek comes out in us all.
The world's of geekdom.
I am a geek and I'm proud of it.
Geeks.
Geeks unite.
Let's get those nerds! Nerds! No!
Did you just call me a nerd?
Not all geeks are nerds.
Yeah.
This is Geek Therapy Radio.
What are we waiting for?
And now your mental curator, Johnny Hamburger.
Welcome to Geek Therapy Radio. I am Johnny Hamburger. Yes, your mental curator for this evening, afternoon, or this morning, whenever you're listening to the broadcast here on KPRC 950, or likely listening to the podcast. And you know, as I say, take me in the shower with you. You got those Bluetooth speakers that are water resistant, IP68, whatever. Take me in there. Scrub-a-dub-dub. On the phone today, I'm geeking out over this. I know it's called Geek Therapy, and this is big time geek therapy for me. Sam Battle is on the line. I've got him all the way from the UK. Sam, how are you doing?
Hey, how's it going? All good? Yeah, I'm all right. How are you?
Good. I'm looking out the window here, and I told you I'm here in Houston, Texas, and I know. Are you around London anywhere?
Yeah, I'm sitting in a room in the middle of London right as we speak. Right outside.
Awesome. So, I'm saying I'm looking outside here in Houston, Texas. It is chilly. It is rainy. It is overcast, and I can't help but think that you might be a little bit familiar with that.
Yeah, definitely. I've just looked out the window. It's pitch black, but right. There's a lot of cloud, bright orange.
Right. For listeners who may have not been observant, the UK is very far away from Texas, so there's a 6-hour time difference. So it is nighttime. I don't know if you're just kind of relaxing. I don't know if you have a bedtime or if you're getting ready to tinker on anything else. I have a feeling that you're probably gonna mess with something.
Well, right now, yeah, I'm rehearsing right now. I've got a gig in France tomorrow, so I'm cramming in some rehearsals.
That's great. That's a great segue. I was going to ask you, does this have anything to do with your band Zebra, or is this a solo thing?
Oh, no, it's a solo thing. Basically, Zebra split up maybe about a year and a half ago, but just nearly 2 years, and I was stuck and I didn't really know what to do. Winter when I started doing new computer stuff and kind of documenting like my bit of my odd side.
Right. And so you've started a YouTube channel. I don't know exactly when did you start your YouTube channel, and what is it called?
Well, about a year and a half ago I started it, and it's called Look Mum No Computer. I don't think I actually started the YouTube channel until after that. I just popped them up on Facebook, and then somebody was like, "You should put them on YouTube as well."
Yeah, that's what people have said about my show. They're like, "You should make a YouTube channel for Geek Therapy Radio." And I'm just like, "Yeah, I have. It's there. It's been up for a few months."
Oh, nice.
So yeah,
check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I've already subbed to you. Sub for sub, bro.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But yeah, so basically, my YouTube channel is just my show plus some extra stuff that I do. I want to get into what you're into, what you're geek about, and just to touch it off, just to light the fuse. You are a hardcore mad scientist, tinkerer in my book, electronic synthesizers. So. What are you into? What are you doing over there on Look Mum No Computer?
Oh, well, I'm just making rather elaborate musical machines, I think. Kind of, loads of synthesizers, modular synths and synths on bikes, and then most recently a Furby Organ.
Yes. Yes, that Furby Organ. I had seen your channel before, a couple things, but that Furby Organ deal, that tipped you over. I think that's currently at 2.2 million views. That thing is beautifully horrifying. Where did you come up with that?
Oh, well, I've always liked Furbies. I was never allowed them when I was a kid, so I think it kind of backlashed from that, and I just I just wanted so many Furbies, and then I don't know when it just came to me, maybe in an epiphany shower, when you're having a shower and there's an idea that's like, that's it, that's the one.
Yes.
And then suddenly it's like Furby Organ, and it was like 7 years ago. And then it took a long while to actually decide to actually make it.
So essentially, what I'm talking to Sam Battle here. If you're just joining us on Geek Therapy Radio, Sam Battle has a YouTube channel called Look Mom No Computer, where he tinkers with all sorts of synthesizers and he makes all sorts of instruments out of things that shouldn't be instruments, and it's really cool. He made an organ made entirely out of Furbies. I'm just thinking about the wiring of it all. How many hours do you think that you spent breathing in solder fumes?
My God, I had to buy an extraction fan purely for this because it was into the second day of just solid soldering, and it was just, it was just getting a bit smoggy.
Yeah, you get it. I tinker with some things too, and I'll be soldering the power input on a laptop motherboard or something like that, and I'll start getting a headache, and I'm wondering, why am I getting a headache? And then I remember, it's probably this. I think there is still lead in solder, technically.
Or
maybe not.
It isn't the lead; it's actually the chemical additives to keep it soft without the lead being in it that kind of gives you the headache.
Yeah.
But luckily, you won't. It's not the heavy metals.
But the point is, I was thinking, like, why am I getting a headache? I've drank plenty of water. I've got plenty of sodium, whatever, and it's just the lead fumes. So any geeks out there who are tinkering or want to get into soldering things, you need to pay attention to. You're not supposed to solder in a closed room with no ventilation, because at the very least you'll get a headache, and at worst you can actually get some pretty bad stuff. I don't want to focus on that or use that as any way to deter potential geeks from taking up the hobby of soldering. Sam, when did you get into all this stuff? I remember first, not to cut you off or anything, but I remember when I was a little boy, I was looking inside of this red boom box that my brother had, like a cassette boom box. And I remember looking inside like one of the cracks between the seams of the plastic and looking at all the wires and circuit boards in there. And I would imagine myself as a tiny little like human and imagining myself in that city. Like I pictured a whole city, like a whole universe inside there. And I was just climbing around.
Walking around the city.
Yeah. So when did you get into it?
That's a cool one, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a similar thing. I mean, I apparently from ever since I was a little kid, like whenever any toy that I had was in pieces, my mum and dad didn't really know what to do. So I think it was just the same as you, just the curiosity of like seeing stuff in, what's inside things.
Right. I think I read that your mom's iron broke, and you were very young, and you actually fixed it. That was the amazing part. It's not that you took it apart to like be curious about it, but you actually fixed it, apparently.
All I did was blow out the dust.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. So many people want to throw away their electronics. It's just we live in this kind of throwaway culture. I know it's bad here in the States. It might be similar in the UK, but like when we love consumerism is a big thing. And to me, when something's broken, I've told my friends and my family this, when something breaks, I don't get disheartened by it. I'm like, I don't think, oh crap, this thing is broken. I think, oh yay, I get to actually play with something, actually open things up and figure out how it works. And I imagine it's probably similar for you.
Yeah, definitely similar. I mean, my dream when I was younger, it wasn't to be a spaceman or something. It was actually to work in a junkyard.
Yeah. I love
the idea of just having everything and everyone. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I remember I went to a junkyard several years ago. My buddy had brought an old piece of crap Ford Fiesta, the 3-cylinder job. Yeah. And we needed to go look for a radiator, and I went to the junkyard and I was like, I don't want to leave here. I'm not going to buy anything, but I just want to keep looking around and climbing over cars and looking, see what cool things or electronics that might be in here. So like
really cool.
To people that are like you and me, junkyards are, tetanus playgrounds.
Yeah.
Gotta take
tetanus jabs, kids.
Exactly. So, Sam, what other? You've done the Furby Organ, which I implore listeners, and again, if you're just tuning in, Geek Therapy Radio, I'm talking to Sam Battle of the YouTube channel Look Mom No Computer, and you may have seen his Furby Organ. It's gone viral. Sam, what else are you up to these days? Whoa. What was that?
Did you hear them?
I did.
Or was it just a noise, or did you hear the Furbies?
Oh, I was like, I thought it was somebody like yelling at you or whatever. Okay, it's a Furby. That's super duper
Yeah, that
creepy.
was I just turned on the Furby organ really quick.
Awesome.
What are the next plans? Oh, man. I haven't got a clue. I mean, like, maybe about 2 months ago, I put up a video of a flame-throwing organ on Facebook, and that was pretty good. It got like 5 million on Facebook. I was pretty chuffed with that. It was pretty good.
Wow. A flame?
Yeah.
Flame-throwing organ.
So instead of air going through the organ pipes, it's propane, and then the propane gets ignited by a small naked flame just outside of the pipe. So it goes up. Yeah. Sounds like Thomas the Tank Engine.
Can you do that sound effect one more time? Yeah. If listeners don't need any more incentive to go like and subscribe, Look Mom No Computer, your flame-throwing organ. I mean, we could have reduced this, 10 or 11-minute interview down to, I've got a flame-throwing organ, go check it out. So go, really, if you want to see a flame-throwing organ, go check out Look Mom No Computer on YouTube. I guess a couple last questions to wrap things up here. I know your time is very valuable. You have to put on your goggles and get back to your mad scientisting.
What breaking?
Exactly? What? This is kind of a loaded question. What project do you think you're most proud of?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
To be honest, actually, probably my favourite is a synth bike part Mark II, which is a synthesizer and a drum machine on a bike, which is a rally chopper. I don't know if you have rally choppers over in America. Did you used to have those?
You talking about a motorcycle?
No, it's actually like a kid's bike from the 70s, and it's got chopper on the side. I mean, I don't think it was popular in the US. I think they imported it, and it ended up being quite expensive in the 70s.
Does it look
quite renowned?
Does it look any different
Sorry?
Does it look any different from any other normal kid's bike? It
kind of looks like a Ross Apollo. Do you know those?
No. You're
like
on a different planet now.
1970s looking.
Yeah,
There's like a bigger wheel on the back and a little wheel on the front and stuff like that.
Okay.
It was designed to kind of look like a dragster or something dodgy. But it's got a synth bike. And the reason why I like that machine the most is because it never breaks.
Yeah. That's, and it's also a loaded question because it's saying, what's your favorite project? Is like, who's your favorite kid? Well, we've got so many. But no, that synth bike, do you have that up on YouTube?
Yes, synth bike 2.0. Synth bikes.
Awesome.
I didn't give up on that idea.
That's cool. And Sam, last question before I let you go and let you plug anything you want. What advice would you have for any listeners, young or old, who might be hesitating to get into a hobby, who might be thinking, soldering, for instance, that seems interesting, but I'm too afraid to get into it, or I've never taken the plunge. What advice do you have for them to actually get into it and enjoy doing it?
I'd say just think of something you've got around that's, like you said, like something that's broken or that you don't use anymore, and take it apart. And as long as it's not mains powered,
right.
Take it apart and it's got batteries in it, and have a look around, have a fiddle around, and just see what's in there. Exactly.
Just take that first step. We all have these geek interests. You get this little geek interest. You think of something in the shower, as Sam was mentioning earlier. Just get into it. Like, what do you have to?
Just do it.
Yeah, exactly. What do you have to lose? You might find out that you really love it. Sam, this is your time to plug anything you want. Plug your channel. Plug any upcoming things you got going on, your Patreon, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing I can really plug is to go and check out my YouTube channel and my Facebook. Just / Look Mum No Computer. That's about it.
That's
just
great.
Videos of silly inventions.
That's awesome, Sam. I could talk to you probably all day. Thank you so much for your time. Please be safe over there in London. I don't know if it's raining where you are right now, but it's kind of slick around here, Houston. Just be safe.
Ooh.
Just be safe.
Yeah, be safe.
Yeah, and keep doing what you're doing, and keep providing that great content, and keep encouraging all the little boy and girl geeks out there to follow their passion. So, Sam, thank you so much for being on.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me, and just keep on gigging.
That's it. Thank you so much, Sam.
Thank you very much. Take care.
You're listening to Geek Therapy Radio, and geeks are sexy.
Welcome back to Geek Therapy Radio. I am still Johnny Hamburger, your mental curator. Thank you for sticking around. I really enjoyed my interview with Sam Battle in the last segment. Sam Battle with their YouTube channel, Look Mum No Computer. Very enjoyable, and I have gone back to look through his catalog of videos on his YouTube channel, and they are consistently amazing, and they are amazing not just because of the crazy works that he's doing, but the way he does it. It's straight up mad scientist, but the way he builds these projects, he doesn't, how should I say this? It's not pretentious. He doesn't build these things to be, he doesn't build these things to say, look at me, look how smart I am, look how sexy I can make this project. Nope. It's hot glue guns, wire strippers, soldering irons, and it is pretty hodgepodge, but it works for the most part. He says he breaks a lot of things, which is probably quite accurate, but I just love what he's doing over there. So if you haven't already, go check out Look Mum No Computer, Mum, M-U-M, as the British and Australians are prone to pronounce mum and spell mum, M-U-M. I think the Queen is mum also. So Look Mum No Computer. In this segment, I want to talk about something very interesting to me and hopefully very interesting to you, my listeners, and that is that the fastest woman on a motorcycle says she hates speed. She absolutely despises going fast. So we're going to look a little bit into that. We're going to see what makes her tick. Why would the fastest woman on a motorcycle, one of the fastest women on Earth, be so adamant that she quote unquote hates speed, hates going fast? I just had one of those hiccups again. One of those hiccups. So let's talk about her. Her name is how do you pronounce this? She's from Sweden. Eva Hackinson. EVA, and then her last name HA with one of those crazy squiggles on top of it. HAKANSSON. If any Swede out there wants to correct me on any of that, please feel free to do so. Go to Geek Therapy Radio on Facebook or Geek Therapy Radio on Instagram, geektherapyradio.com. Get in touch with me, geektherapy@iheartmedia.com. Tell me how I butchered that name. Tell me how to pronounce it correctly. So I'm just going to say from here on out, Eva Hackinson. She's an eco-activist. She's self-described eco-activist in disguise. And she said that while she's okay doing, 270 miles per hour on the salt flats in a homemade vehicle, there's too many distracted drivers on the road. So she's given up on road riding. Instead, she's taken up flying small planes and taken aerobatics lessons so she can have her fun up there while she doesn't have to worry about people, driving around, updating their Instagrams or doing their makeup, which I agree, which is kind of crazy to think about. Doing 270 miles per hour on a salt flat is safer than doing 55 miles an hour on a freeway, at least here in Houston and probably most other places around the world. Due to distracted drivers, I don't even want to go off on a tangent about how terrible people are at driving. And it seems, though, and apparently I am going off on a little tangent, it seems to me that the worse the weather gets, the less the visibility, the worse people will drive. And I don't mean that they're going too slow or too fast. I mean that, they'll forget to turn their lights on in low visibility. They will not use blinkers. They will not indicate lane changes or that their vehicle is changing direction at all. It's like, hey, visibility is reduced, so I'm just not going to do anything safe. I'm not going to let anybody know my intentions. I'm just going to go here or there in the wet. If someone sees me, if they don't see me, good luck to them. Screw them. I'm doing what I want. Screw everyone else's safety. I went off on a tangent. I'm sorry. Back to the story. I'm just saying that I agree with Eva that driving fast on a freeway or driving on the freeway at all is more dangerous than doing 270 miles an hour on a salt flat. That being said, she still hates doing 270 on a salt flat. But let's get into that. Let's get into a little bit more of what makes her tick. Where you would expect to, where you expect to find that she's a speed freak, instead, you really find that she is the opposite. Her motivation and her passion for this, for setting land speed records, is the engineering. She's a geek about engineering. She likes building these vehicles, these motorcycles, to beat speed records. It's not that she likes inherently to break the record, but she loves the engineering that goes behind hitting these speed records. So she's much happier, with a welding mask on than sitting on one of her own hand-built creations trying to set a world record. So her history, she kind of grew up as a tree hugger. Well, I won't say kind of. She did grow up as a quote-unquote tree hugger. But her dad also happened to be a champion motorcycle racer. So, as she put it, racing is a genetic disorder. And she's kind of picked up that genetic disorder of racing. But her main interest is in all the technology that goes into the vehicles, mainly electric vehicles, which we'll get into here. Her oldest brother, she had a couple of brothers, but her oldest brother, she remembers that he won the science fair one time. So she decided, I'm going to win a science fair. So she won it a few times, and she got to travel the world. She got to go to Germany and the United States, to different competitions exhibiting her science fair projects, and that's really cool. She won 2 or 3 times, she says. So she went to the U.S. and England and others with other finalists, and that's where she picked up her competitive edge. So she picked up her competitive edge winning science fair projects. So naturally, like I said, while she doesn't like to go fast on a motorcycle, she still likes to win. She still likes to develop the technology that wins. So off to higher education she goes. And she says what got her into electric vehicles, she got a bachelor's degree in business with a focus on ecological economics, which of course does sound like kind of a weird combination. But she wrote her bachelor thesis. She wrote her bachelor thesis on the political incentives for low-emission vehicles. So that's what really got her looking into the science behind it all, the science behind electric vehicles. And at the time she got her degree in 2005, ethanol was big, biogas was big, hydrogen was just becoming a thing. So this was kind of before EVs, electric vehicles, really took off, so to speak. So electric vehicles weren't really on the market yet. I remember that there was Honda, I believe, had an EV. Chevy tried to put out an EV in the 90s, and they recalled them all, I believe. They recalled them all, and they all got stored up somewhere or destroyed. And point is, electric vehicles weren't really a thing back then. Neither were hybrids. Honda's Insight was a hybrid, but it wasn't a lithium-ion hybrid. It was just, as I understand it, lead-acid batteries assisting the wheels with forward motion. So if you look at it, like even modern Honda Insights aren't lithium-ion like a Prius is. Honda does have actual hybrids, but the Insight, at least until recently, the MPGs in there weren't really much better than just a normal Civic. It's like 35 on the highway, 38 on the highway if you're lucky, which isn't... The benefits weren't really there for it. But needless to say, back when she graduated in 2005, electric vehicles weren't popular, weren't the thing. At any rate, she concluded that the only thing that made sense to bring personal transportation forward into the future was electric vehicles. So that's what she put her heart into. That's what she put her passion into. Hydrogen was, like I mentioned, hydrogen was a thing in 2005. That's where people thought it was going. But essentially, hydrogen vehicles was just a very inefficient battery. Like, it was just a very inefficient battery car. Hydrogen produces the electricity that goes to the electric motors in the wheels, and it's just a very inefficient way to get electricity. Plus, transporting hydrogen is very difficult. It's a compressed gas, and it's at dangerously high pressure. So it was very dangerous in the first place to even transport hydrogen. And battery technology was coming along, lithium-ion batteries were coming along, and it just, again, made more sense to go electric. And not only that, Eva has gone on to point out that, especially with fast chargers, refilling, quote-unquote, recharging an electric car, an all-electric car, takes about the same amount of time as it does to fill a hydrogen car. I'm not sure how much of that I really believe, because I thought filling a hydrogen car was just the same amount of time it takes to pump gas. I may be wrong on that, but if it was the same amount of time to pump gas, I don't care. Even with fast charging, you're not filling up your car in 3 or 4 minutes. That's just not happening. The charging technology, I shouldn't say the charging technology isn't there yet. The infrastructure for the masses isn't there yet. So anyways, she says that the amount of time it takes to fill a hydrogen car isn't something that people who promote hydrogen cars want to talk about, so hydrogen is just dead in the water. And I would tend to agree that. All right, let's fast forward a little bit. Eva knows, like she said, she's an eco-activist in disguise, and she knows that the only way to propel electric vehicles into the market, into the future, is to make them sexy. And nothing is sexier than speed. So she knows that in order to be an eco-activist, in order to sell the idea of electric vehicles, she has to set land speed records. People, it's funny. She says people don't care that you say that your vehicle goes 0 to 60 in 1 second. They don't care that it covers a quarter mile in 7 seconds. They always ask, what's the top speed? So her and her husband are working on a motorcycle, a Streamliner motorcycle that has, it's like 1,300 horsepower. Where does it say here in my notes? 1,300 horsepower. Where? Until I get to that number, she says she's tried to get other people to do the test for her, to be the guinea pigs on the motorcycle, but there's always scheduling conflicts. They're always racers, they're always race drivers, and they're always doing different circuits, different obligations that they have to get to. So she's tried getting other people to do it, but she just can't find someone else to do it. So she hates doing it. She would rather just go right back home, go right back to bed, but she has to be on her own motorcycle setting these land speed records. And this bike they're working on to set the new land speed record, hopefully at Green Envy in 2020, which is that in Australia? Maybe it's in New Zealand. I forget where it is, but it's the Green Envy in 2020. She's shooting for a megawatt of power in a motorcycle. How many horsepower roughly is a megawatt? 1,360 horsepower on a motorcycle, and guess who's going to be the one to drive it? The lady that hates to be on it. The lady that hates speed. The lady that hates the claustrophobia, that hates the heat of the enclosed capsule there in the motorcycle, on the two-wheel vehicle. Eva's gonna do it. 1,360 horsepower. That's it for this segment of Geek Therapy Radio. Stay tuned. If you're listening on the actual radio, it's just going to be a couple minutes until we come back to more GTR. But for those on the podcast, it's going to be instant. So stick around. More Geek Therapy Radio coming up in just a moment.
You're listening to Geek Therapy Radio, and geeks are sexy.
Welcome back to Geek Therapy Radio. I'm Johnny Hemberger, your mental curator. Once again, whenever you're listening to this radio broadcast, whether it's on KPRC 950 AM or the podcast, this afternoon, this evening, or this morning, welcome back to the show. Let's get our geek on some more. So this segment, I wanted to talk about architecture a little bit. Architecture and how it dictates our life, how it dictates our mood, how it affects our health, really. And there's a new / old study into this called, am I pronouncing this right? Biophilia. I know you were all thinking, oh, it's feng shui. You're going to talk about feng shui now. Well, not really. Feng shui is a little bit different. Yes, it is towards the end goal of relieving stress, but biophilia is a little bit different. Biophilia literally translates to love of life. And how your home's designed can help you be healthier, like physically healthier, and lead a less stressful life. So I'm getting into all this because at some point I'm going to transition in this segment to how this might tie in with, or how this coexists with the new trend of tiny living. Can you achieve biophilic design in tiny living? That's why this is interesting to me. That's why I think it might be interesting to you. Because on one hand, we have biophilia and biophilic design, which is all about incorporating nature into your house and all this kind of stuff. But if you're a tiny house revolutionist, sorry about that. If you're a tiny house enthusiast, how can you achieve the same goal? Now, in my thinking, and I'll touch more on this later in the segment, in my limited thinking is that you can biophilic design, biophilia can be adapted into a tiny house just simply because you step 2 feet to your left and you're outside. That's the simplest way I can think of it. You know, your house can be tiny, but if you want true biophilia, just like, you know, lean your neck back 9 inches and your head is out one of the windows in your house, and you can have the true biophilia experience of having a bird take a dump on your forehead. Anyways, biophilic design is being promoted, is being advanced, and it's the next kind of important phase that we're going into in architecture, even though we've done it in the past, but it's like the newest thing. I mean, I guess interior designers, if you're wanting to, you know, make a business in interior design, or you're an architect, look into biophilic design. I'm sure you're already into that. I'm sure Nick, my buddy Nick, already knows all about biophilic design, because I used to watch him when we lived together in Montrose. He would be making these dioramas and these projects for his architecture classes at U of H. It was very interesting, and I would ask him, oh, why'd you design it that way? Oh, it's natural airflow. It naturally draws cool air from underground into the building, so you don't have to use as much air conditioning, blah, blah, blah. That is very interesting to me. That was very cool. So there's this new wave of it, and you may be wondering why. Why is this even a thing? Why can't I just have my kitchen and the microwave in there and my TV slapped on the wall? Do I even need a fireplace? What the heck? I live in the city. I don't even have a balcony. Why is this important? Well, some scientists believe, for instance, the biologist E.O. Wilson, he believes that we've evolved and we've even been, quote, soft-wired to prefer, you know, natural settings over artificially constructed enclosures, environments. So it kind of goes hand in hand. If we want to live healthy, if we want to have a less stressful lifestyle, less stress in our life, then we shouldn't come home from a stressful office, which is probably not biophilic in design. We can at least come home to a house that is biophilic in design and not add to the stress of the day. So we can naturally design our dwellings to address our evolutionary instinct towards biophilia, towards love of life. So in biophilic design, biophilic theory basically says that rather than have, you know, isolated elements in your house, for example, just putting a plant somewhere in your house. The true benefit to biophilic design, biophilic architecture comes when you incorporate many different elements into your dwelling that complement each other. Sorry about that. Michael Berry just popped in here and brought me some Girl Scout cookies. And they are scrumptious. Thank you, Michael, for that. Anyways, so all these elements have to complement each other in biophilic design. Like I said, you can't just put a fern in your corner and all of a sudden you're miraculously stress-free. That will help, but that's not going to eliminate it. You need these different designs all to work together to fully, relieve fatigue and stress, but they need to tie in with nature. They need to reinforce our experience in nature. Now, when I read something like that, when I see something like that biophilic design needs to incorporate nature into our living space, nature is why we built living spaces. Nature, by and large, for humans to live in, sucks. It's hot, it's cold, it's humid, it's dangerous. There's tigers out there and bears out there and all sorts of things that can kill us. So there's poison ivy, there's sunburns. So maybe not everything. I'm reminded, though, of Francis Lloyd Wright, and what his house is called Falling Water, and it's the house that he built over a waterfall. That's awesome. That really is biophilic design, and biophilic design has been going on since even ancient times. Athens, the Parthenon in Athens, Rome's Pantheon, and it's I'm seeing here the ancient Vietnamese city of Hoi An. They're all examples of biophilic designs at work, and they've been around forever. Now, Frank Lloyd Wright also popularly said that study nature, love nature, stay close to nature, it will never fail you. But I, Johnny Hamburger, would like to amend that slightly, put a little asterisk by it, that nature will never fail you until a bear turns you into bear crap. Or nature turns you into an icicle, or nature bleaches your bones when you're trapped out in the desert. So, nature is beautiful, but it is to be respected, and yeah, nature can fail me. If I'm being turned into mountain lion poop, nature, you failed. You failed me personally, and I will take it personally. So how does this... All right, well, okay, what are the elements of biophilic design? I'm just going to rattle off the list here. Natural light, obviously. And if you don't have natural light, you should have full spectrum artificial light to complement the natural daylight. You should have plenty of exterior views. Now, not just through windows, and it's important what you see out those windows. If you look out a window and it's just immediately blocked by bushes, immediately blocked by trees and shrubs, or your neighbor's house, that's not that great. It's okay to have some of your windows that you see a bush immediately, but you need to have some views that go off to, pretty far down the horizon. Because having a view that spatial gives you, like I just said, spatial awareness. The feeling that the walls aren't closing in on you. The feeling that you can walk around freely. Even though you're inside, even though you're contained within walls, just having a view that goes out into the distance makes you feel much less claustrophobic. Can I talk today? Makes you feel much less claustrophobic, which of course means you're much less stressed out all the time. Another design element of biophilic design is water. Water sources, not just having your fountains in your house, having koi ponds, whatever, but you need to be able to touch water, feel water, be around water, hear water. You should incorporate that into your design, into your home. And also other stimuli, various pleasurable stimuli that comes from nature. So, plants that give off pleasant smells, plants that also change color with the seasons. All these elements will come together in biophilic design to reduce the stress in your life. Now, the rub is incorporating all these elements into tiny houses. You know, the Carrot House, K-E-R-E-T house, still holds the title for the world's, well, at least it's the world's narrowest living space ever made. The width is 28 by 48 inches. Well, it's 28 inches at its narrowest, 48 inches at its widest. That's crazy. And I guess the balance would be with incorporating the biophilic design into tiny homes would be to put your tiny house on a big field somewhere. That's an idea that I had. I thought that'd be really cool to put a tiny house in a field somewhere. That way you have plenty of access to nature. You have plenty of air going through. You can have a stream nearby, put it next to a stream. Then you have all their nature elements in your biophilically designed tiny house. With that, that's the end of this segment of Geek Therapy Radio. Stick around if you're listening to the broadcast on the air. We'll be back in a couple minutes. If you're listening to the podcast, we'll be right back immediately. So stick around. More, I can't even talk. I was going to say more Geechi R coming up. Geek Therapy Radio on Facebook, Geek Therapy Radio on Instagram, geektherapyradio.com. If you want to talk to me, reach out to me the most effective way. geektherapy@iheartmedia.com. That's the email, geektherapy@iheartmedia.com. And with that, we'll be right back with more GTR.
You're listening to Geek Therapy Radio, and geeks are sexy.
Welcome to the last segment of Geek Therapy Radio. As is typical with the last segment of GTR each week, this is when I hit a bunch of random topics. First, I wanted to tell you about a web comic from somebody I met on the internet, not in real life, but back late last week when I went viral on the website Imager. This guy reached out to me. He has a series of webcomics, and I promised him I'd plug it. It's called Morgan's Organs, M-O-R-G-A-N space O-R-G-A-N-S, Morgan's Organs. It's at morgansorgans.com. He's not paying me or anything, and I'm going to disclaim it right now. It's pretty raunchy, so it's not something I'd recommend for everybody. It's not necessarily the style of humor that's my cup of tea, but if you're okay with some raunchy style humor, it's very clever, it's very well drawn. But if you're into that kind of thing, morgansorgans.com is where you can find it. An amateur astronomer tries out his new camera and winds up catching a supernova at its start. For those who are unaware, supernovas are when stars explode, and they're very, very hard to capture because they happen very quickly. And unless you're looking at the right spot at the right moment, we can't observe them. They're hard to observe as they happen. So anybody who's got any of you listening who have a telescope, maybe pull it out, dust it off, collimate the lenses again. Collimate just means line up the lenses again, so what you see through your eyepiece is not just a blurry image. You have to get the parabolic mirror just so, get everything just right. Bottom line is, bust out your telescope, look it up at the stars. You never know what you might see. On to our next topic. The script for Star Wars Episode 9 is finished, J.J. Abrams says. So all you Star Wars fans out there, the script for Episode 9 is finished, according to J.J. Abrams. Mac users. There's a common misconception among Mac users that Macs are virus-proof, which is absolutely not the case. Macs are actually more susceptible to virus attacks. Because the myth, why people think that Macs are virus-proof, it comes down to simple economics. Let's say you're a hacker or whatever, and you're writing a virus that you want to take over the world. Well, at best, 10% of the population uses a Mac. The other 90% uses PC. So if you're writing one virus to attack one platform or the other, what would you choose? Would you rather a potential target of 90% of the population or 10% of the population? So when hackers in the nefarious write these viruses, they're written for PC because most people own PCs. That's the simple truth. And it's such a truth that Apple doesn't have the virus security that Windows has. Windows is a much bigger, much juicier target than a Mac. So Windows is constantly updating their virus protection. Mac simply has the luxury of not being in most people's homes. Only 10% of the population has a Mac. Of those who own PCs, 10%'s a Mac. Viruses simply aren't written for Macs. Did any of you see the special on Netflix? I highly recommend it, called The King of Kong. It's about a gentleman named Billy Mitchell, who back in the 80s set the high score in Donkey Kong. World record high score in the original Donkey Kong. Well, he's gone back to beat his old record, and that had been standing for a while, until just recently, video footage has revealed and been analyzed that Billy Mitchell did it fraudulently. He was using an emulator to set the high score, and that is not allowed in the official high-scored record keeping of video games. Couple more quick things on the way out. Geek Therapy Radio is set to be the number 2 most listened to podcast all time on KPRC 950. So thank you very much for that. Keep sharing the podcast with your friends. We're all geeks about something. This is Geek Therapy Radio, so this is therapy for everybody. This is geek therapy for everyone, since we're all geeks about something. Last thing is, did you like how the last 3 segments sounded sonically? Segments 2, 3, and 4 were recorded on my $40 Samson Go microphone. So I recommend it. They're not paying me, but it's a very good microphone. With that, that's going to do it for Geek Therapy Radio this week. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Johnny Hemberger. Go hit up geektherapyradio.com for all the info, and I will see you next week here on GTR.
Remember to like, follow, and subscribe to Geek Therapy Radio on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.